Hey guys, what's going on? It's RJ from Capital Fire Training. I wanted to take a quick minute to just jump on here and highlight the video that you're about to watch. The video that you're about to watch is a recording from our 5th annual Jerry Fickes Memorial Training Weekend, which was just this past weekend in Westchester, Pennsylvania. Along with that, on Saturday, September 21st, we did a social event at Barnaby's of Westchester, which we had guest speaker Terrance Tate come in and open up and talk about his experiences the night of the Lakeview Road house fire, which costed the lives of Jerry Fickes, Christopher Leach, and Ardythe Hope. During that night, he shared his experiences as well as the aftermath of that fire, battling PTSD. This night was a very, very emotionally charging night for all of us, but really glad that it happened as we got to learn a lot about the fire. This is the first time that Terrance Tate has actually publicly spoke about it, and very, very gut-wrenching for sure. With that being said, we would like to thank the Ardythe Hose Hook and Ladder Company for hosting the training, Barnaby's of Westchester for allowing us to use their space for the evening, and the Wilmington Fire Department for trusting us to deliver education through training for the members of the American Fire Service in honor of their members. So without any further ado, I would like to roll the clip so you guys can see what it was like that night.
Yep. Okay. Good.
Did you want to do an introduction for Captain Fire Training first?
Okay.
All right. Good evening, everybody. First and foremost, thank you guys for coming to this event. This is the 5th annual Jerry Fickes Memorial Training Weekend, hosted by Ardythe Hose Hook and Ladder Company. A little backstory. I am one of the lead instructors for Capital Fire Training. 5 years ago, Ardythe Hose Hook and Ladder came to Nick and asked if we could, and our training cadre of instructors, do a memorial training in honor of Jerry Fickes, Christopher Leach, and Ardythe Hope. So, not knowing, not familiar with the Wilmington family, the Ardythe family, but what we do as far as instructors who are passionate about the job. Excuse me. We said absolutely, we'll make this happen, and without any hesitation, all of the instructors for Capital Fire Training decided that we would come up and do this training. It was something that was special to us, as you guys all know. Nick, who teaches with us, who also works with Wilmington, is one of our instructors. It was important that not only we helped and honored and supported, but we also wanted to make sure we gave back at the same time. For the last 5 years, we have been coming up here, our instructors, and delivering training, different topics every year. Pleased that this has been going on for 5 years. Unfortunate situation, but the fact that we can take this situation and turn some good out of it, which is education. There's a lot to be learned in the fire service. We all don't know everything. However, we can take this situation and turn it into some good in honor of the Wilmington Fire Department and Ardythe Hose Hook and Ladder. With that being said,
there's no live stream.
It's an honor. Okay. It's our honor to continue to come up here and do this with and for you guys. With that being said, this year we have a special guest, Terry Tate from Wilmington, who is joining us for the first time, my first time meeting him, and very honored to have him come and talk about his experience during the fire and after the fire. So without me rambling, I would like to turn the microphone over to Nick, let him say a few words. And, thank you guys.
Thank you.
All right, guys. So this is our 5th annual. I had some ideas in my mind how we're going to progress this from the first year and make it bigger and better every year. 5th annual, I knew I wanted to do like a tactical on tap type thing, have some guest speakers come in. Last year I ran into Tate and Lou Jeffries just spur of the moment, went to Grotto's, they were there, started talking to Tate, telling about like the Jerry Fickes Memorial, And he said, hey man, I'm at the point where I can start like talking about it. I'm like, all right man, so look, we're gonna do this thing. Mike's all yours if you would like to. And pretty much saying, I'd be honored to. There's not many people who know Tate's story. There's very few. There's 3 people who know what actually happened that night.
It's all right.
Unfortunately, this is the only man who actually tell the story of everybody. So, all right, I'm gonna get choked up. So I'm gonna turn.
It's all right. You got it. Come on, you got it. You got it. You got it. Don't start.
Everybody's here. I mean, I wish we had a bigger turnout, but the people who actually matter are here. So
Yeah.
that's why I was coming here and listening to Tate. So. How are you, brother?
All right. All right. Whew. Okay, so first I'd like to thank you all for coming out and coming to listen to me talk, because I'm not normally one to just up and just talk about a bunch of stuff, but I'm honored because there's a lot of people here who I looked up to in the fire service, and a lot of people who put a lot into me and I learned a lot from. So I want to thank you guys all, first of all, for coming out and coming to listen to this, and honor Jerry, Ardythe, and Chris. I'd also like to thank Ardythe Hope and Capital Fire Training for inviting me out to come out and speak and honor in Jerry's memory. So, and with that, I would like to start off with just saying that I'm gonna speak about a couple things that might, there's some sensitive subjects, some things that may, if you have had some type of things that may have some trauma and some things like that you haven't worked through. This may bring back some things if you were. I know a lot of us in here were close to Jerry, Chris, and Ardythe. So we will be playing the audio. So just make sure you're okay with that, because it will be coming up. And as I go through this speaking tonight. So with that, I'm going to speak to you about some of the fires that I responded to, and some incidents that I didn't realize that before September 24th, I had already had PTSD. Yeah, so I already had PTSD before that event, but I wasn't aware, because as firefighters, we just kind of walk through life. Things happen, we kind of just shrug it off. And I thought it was just a thing. And I went back to work and kept doing my job. So with that said, I'm going to start off with just a brief call that I went on. And this goes into understanding the May Days, which I was with. I had the opportunity to be with Capital Fire today in Aetna while they were doing their May Day training. And there's a couple people in here with me that I was actually on a May Day call with. So we were at a structure fire, normal working house fire in Wilmington. We all, we have our 2 over 3, front 2 stories, rear 3 story in the rear. And we had a working house fire, normal box. Box struck out, we went. I was on the ladder company. My officer and I went into the building, did a search. We were waiting for the engine company to make the stairs to go to the basement fire. They never made the stairs. And as we sat there and, like the ladder, we're waiting for somebody else to do their job. We have looking at the stairs with the thermal imaging camera, and we're pointing, letting the engine company go, hey, there's the stairs. So they never made the stairs. They backed out of the fire, and there was a Mayday call, because everyone backed out except me and my company officer. And we're sitting there, it's like the room got quiet, everybody's gone, and it was like, where's the party? Everyone left the room and backed out, and they called Mayday for me and my company officer, and we were like, what's going on? But we weren't aware, because no one informed us. We were just in there doing our job, wondering who they called the Mayday for, and we proceeded to take the hose line and put the fire out in the basement. And this is a scenario where understanding what's going on the fire grounds and being accountable for your people is very important. I had another situation where we had another one-story, it was a one-story, 2-story normal home, row home on the east side of Wilmington. And there was another basement fire. And this is one of, in the fire service, this is one of our most dangerous fires, because we're entering over the fire. Row home, fire in the rear. First, the engine company took a line in from the rear. They notified the battalion over the radio that they were responding to the rear of the building. They stretched the hose line and started to attack the fire from the rear. And in that situation, that's not our normal operation in the city of Wilmington. We're normally in through the front, all companies into the front door. Well, in that situation, the rest of the responding units came in through the front door, and we were in another situation where we were fighting the fire from the front and the back, but the engine company, again, didn't make the stairs. I don't know what it is with the city of Wilmington and the engine company's not making the stairs, but this happened. So they didn't make the stairs, and again, my company officer and I are sitting here with thermal imaging cameras like, the stairs are there, but they didn't make the stairs, and again, everyone backed out, and we were sitting here wondering what's going on. And unfortunately, there was no Mayday called at this event. But again, these are the type of scenarios you're going to, you can run into with these basement fires because they're very dangerous. So in my last and final call that I went on that was really touching to me, which was my initial understanding that I had PTSD, was I was detailed to an engine company in Southbridge, and guys know for the city of Wilmington, I was at SB2. And went on a motor vehicle accident, 2 kids were struck riding a motorcycle. And we pulled up on the scene, normal BSI scene safety, and we treating the patients. So as I walk up on the patients, that's 2 children, one off the bike, compound fracture, the other one had a twist fracture in the leg, bumps and bruises. So we're packaging the children, and I'm looking at these 2 kids, and I'm wondering, I'm like, they look very familiar. And I, doing my thing because we're working, you're focused on the task at hand. So as we're packaging the children, the medics are treating, and we're doing our assistance with the medics, I hear someone screaming in the background, the mother's running up. She's like, oh my God, that's my kids, that's my kids. And as I turn and look, I realize she's the babysitter of my children in my daycare. So that's when it kind of touched me that this was someone I knew, and I knew these children. So I talked to her, I said, hey, I know her, I let her know you can ride in the ambulance, go with your kids, blah, 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 and they transported her with her children. And I was fine up until that point, until we started to pick up, and I packed up, and I went over to the truck to place my gear on the truck, and that was my initial encounter with not controlling my emotions. And I had what I call a panic fit or something of that nature, where I started crying, I started hyperventilating, and I couldn't control myself. And I, as a firefighter, we kind of look at that like, so I shrugged it off for that moment and never really dealt with it. I never got any help. I never sought any help or anything of that nature. So in that manner right there, so what I like to try to tell people when it comes to your mental health, because as first responders and EMS personnel, we're going to see a lot of trauma constantly and repeatedly. And these things are going to be every day in our lives. So we have to look out for one another in every way that we possibly can. We got to look out for ourselves. So if you start to see changes in someone that you love and care about, whether they're starting to drink, their behaviors are starting to change, or the normal things that they would do day to day, just, check on them. And for the biggest thing is we have to learn to check ourselves, because that was my first understanding, and I'll get to it after I start to play the sound for the response to Lakeview. That was my first understanding after the fire, that I was different. I started to feel and do things differently, and that's when I had to realize that I needed to get some help. So with that, we're going to start the sound for the Lakeview audio, and then after that I'll explain to you what Jerry and I and we attempted to do to save Chris at the fire. It should be about 8 minutes, but I'll let you know when you can start.
Her daughter ran back inside the building that she's down at this time. Sounds like they're all knocked out. Squad 4. 302. And one arrival to safety and accountability. Safety and accountability 302. Correct. Rescue 2303. Lakeview Road command. Hey guys, just got me a ladder to message. He said something about still getting trapped. I'm on the market. Thanks for the check. Too much life and service. Second fire, first floor, 305. These reports from monsters net, everyone's out of the house. Proceed, command. Thanks, Charlie. Well, Charlie, command. Command, go ahead. We have heavy fire calling from the basement, the second floor in the rear. We have power lines failed. Command the fire with P&L. Proceed, Lakeview, command. Officer. That's me to officer. That's me to officer, that's you. The X-Fire, radar fire, and the soldiers trapped in the first floor. Firefighters trapped. Lay. First floor. Firefighters trapped on the first floor. Mating has been declared. All units operating except for police code mating.
So was a primary collapse with a secondary collapse, trapping 3 firefighters in a basement. We had engine companies come into the front with the ladder company, and a browned out or rolling bypass district where the first 2 engine was out of service. So engine 6 in the Canby Park area, it's not my district, so you have to excuse me, I'm not really familiar with that area. But I know you piss in the river, you shit in the lake. And for the guys in the Wilmington Fire Department, we know what that means. Okay? I was taught by that crazy motherfucker over there. And excuse me if I cuss a lot, but we all know who we are. We're a bunch of raunchy ass firefighters. So, in the Canby Park area, we have a lot of 2-story in the front, 3 stories in the rear. And for the Wilmington Fire Department, that is all around the city. From the east side, to the west side, to the north side, to the south side. So this is our bread and butter, and these are the ones that killed our brothers and sisters. As Jerry and I arrived on Squad 4, we were broken into our 2 teams. Jerry and I argued about who was going to make radio calls, and I told him, you're Squad 4 Charlie. So as he walked up the driveway, you heard him say, we have heavy fire in the rear with power lines involved. Jerry and I were told to access, I'm trying to remember, was it D? Yeah. We were assigned to Exposure Delta to do a search and check for extension into the home adjacent to the structure. We made access to Delta from the rear, at which point we saw a hallway that walked into a washroom extending to stairs that came up to the kitchen. As Jerry and I made access to the basement of that house, I looked to my left where I saw a door that led to a garage. So assuming that in most row homes, as we know as firefighters, this type of construction runs through this whole block. So we made our way up the stairs and came into the kitchen, and as you heard, within 5 minutes of that fire, we had a mayday. Jerry and I left out of that home, and just by coincidence, how we went into the home, I went in first, Jerry followed behind me, so when we turned around, Jerry was first, I was following behind him. For some reason, I smile to this day in honor of Jerry, but I laugh because I don't understand why he did this. There was a fence in between these homes, and Jerry decided to climb it. I don't know. I mean, I walked around the fence. Jerry decided to climb the fence. Jerry being this tall, and I'm 6'2". So Jerry tried to hop the fence. So I just, okay, Jerry, you know, Jerry's Jerry. But I forgot to explain in my initial, as we approached, and I have to go back and rewind, as we approached the building fire, I saw something I'd never seen before in 17 years on the fire department, and you know, some of my senior guys here may have in my lifetime. I've never seen anything like this. I saw a fire blowing out of a garage door like a blowtorch. Like you would see it coming out of a window, extended out probably about 5, 7 to 10 feet, and then went up. So it was not like it was just licking over, it was blowing out because it had no access to anything else. So all the fire from the arson was just blowing out of the basement. So again, I'll go back to, as Jerry and I attempted to make access, the fire had changed because now, instead of it blowing out, it was burning up because of the collapse. So as Jerry and I made our way around, I stopped because we heard the mayday, and I pulled up my thermal imaging camera to see if I could see anyone in the fire debris or any temperature change to make say, okay, I could see someone. Well, I couldn't see anyone because, again, Jerry had climbed the fence. And in him climbing the fence, he appeared in my thermal imaging camera. And Jerry was beelining in. I said, well, it's time for us to go. So as we went into the basement, just fire everywhere from the collapse. There was fire, obviously, and I don't want to go into the whole, as we would say as firemen, there was fire to the right, there was fire to the left, there was fire all around me, but that's basically what it was. There was fire everywhere. And then I made a note even in the NIOSH report to say that as we went into the basement and as we start to observe as good firemen performing good habits, I'm looking. We just had a collapse. I'm looking. And I remember to the day, and it's still in my statement, I looked up and I saw that there was fire burning blue over my head. And I'm like, this isn't good. This isn't good at all. So we proceeded in. Jerry and I stopped because we couldn't make access to where the collapse area was because there was at the time I didn't know, but I found out later after speaking to several of the firemen, I don't know why there was a refrigerator in the basement. There was what I would say, I don't know, gigantic wall of debris that we couldn't get over. So Jerry stopped. He was in the front of me, to my left, not even 3 feet. And he proceeded to look and listen. He stopped. I heard a pass device. He heard something. And then I got hit with a hose stream. So I had a hose stream come from this side of my body down this side of my body. So I'm thinking, as we would as firemen, that, okay, I got a fucking hose team with me. We're good. They're gonna put this fire out, protect me and Jerry while we're going in here to make a rescue. So my follow-up behind that I didn't find out till later, that these were the guys in the living room fighting the fire from above us, putting water to save Ardythe and Brad. So this is where I say to you, we had 2 different things going on at the same fire building. So as we proceeded in, I tapped Jerry on his shoulder because I heard a pass device, and I heard it to my left. And as Jerry proceeded in, just like the exposure in the D, I'm thinking, we're in a garage. To find out later in the construction, after the incident follow-up, that they had converted this garage to a living space. Removed beams, removed support walls, and there was nothing there holding up that basement anymore because they had removed the garage wall and everything that supported the garage structure. So everything from front to back had burned through and collapsed. And the building was overloaded with floor refrigerators, 55-gallon fish tanks, and all types of other things from the kitchen to the living room. So we had all this excess weight in the building that was probably would have collapsed anyway due to that the house was overloaded. Now to go back to what Jerry and I were doing, Jerry proceeded to what we thought was the same adjacent hallway to a washroom. And as we went in, I looked to my left and I could see free burning stairs. So I said, we don't have egress out of this building out to the 2nd floor. We're going back out where we came. Jerry proceeded in, and we saw a firefighter down, buried in debris up to his shoulders with all types of material that fell down from above. We walked over to him. Jerry proceeded to step behind him as I walked over to him, and I reached down to him, and this is where I had to learn to be strong and brave to come here and say, I got you, brother. And I reached down to him, and he said to me, my back is broken. I can't fucking walk. So I reached over, and in that instance, I put my hands under his shoulders, and the way he was sitting in a sitting crouch position, we weren't able in that space to turn, move, or any type of way to get him situated into a normal type of carry under his shoulders. So Jerry pushed him to me, and I placed Chris's face mask in my forearms. So I had my arms, my hands under his shoulders, and his face mask and helmet was in my chest, which was fortunate because I kept his mask pressed against his face, so he couldn't lose his air. Jerry grabbed him by his legs, and we proceeded to back Chris out of this washroom back into the garage. As we were backing out of the washroom into the garage, I stumbled back over what type of debris I can't remember, and Chris fell on me, and I fell back. And as I fell back, I put my hand back, and I suffered 3rd and 2nd degree steam burns to my hand. Jerry proceeded to pick Chris up off of me, and we continued to move Chris out of the washroom into the garage amongst all the debris. As we were coming out, the fire intensity grew, and at that point, I would say it's hard to determine how far we were, but we were midway out of where we had just came from. We continued to back out. I was carrying Chris, and I heard someone start to scream, get low, get low, get low. And I'm like, okay. So I started to kneel down as I'm carrying Chris, and then backing out, and debris started falling and hitting my helmet. So I'm thinking, okay, this is about to collapse. So I continued to get as low as I possibly could while Jerry was carrying Chris and I was pulling him. And we backed out to the point where I found out after the NIOSH report that we got Chris within 6 feet from exiting the room where a secondary collapse happened. And this is where things get kind of blurry for me, but understanding that Jerry was buried, Chris was buried, and I was stuck holding Chris, trying to pull him from under debris. And at this point, I'm on my knees, pulling him out, and he's not moving. I'm holding on, pulling and pulling and pulling. And luckily, my hero shows up, and he comes. I'm thinking it's a RIT team, because this is what we do, you know. There's other units responding. I hear it on the radio and the chatter, and I'm thinking it's a RIT team. Someone shows up, taps me on my shoulder, comes over, so I'm like, okay, we have 4 guys here. We're good. We're going to get him out. He slides to his right, I slide to the left, and we go this way. But Chris doesn't move. So I slide back this way. I don't know who this guy is. He pulls. I can feel him go behind Chris. He starts to push, and we're moving around Chris trying to get him out. He's not moving. To the point, this guy stops pulling on Chris and starts pulling on me. I'm holding Chris, and this guy is pulling on me to the point where I couldn't hold on anymore because my hands were burned and I didn't even realize it. He pulls me out and the collapse happens and it buries Chris. So in 5.5 minutes, we lost 2 firefighters and 2 are still buried in a basement. From that point on, I'm sitting there looking at this firefighter. I still don't know who it is. We're looking at each other screaming, what the fuck just happened? Because this doesn't happen to us. What the fuck just happened? We said this to each other for about a minute. What the fuck just happened? I just remember that to this day. What the fuck just happened? What the fuck just happened? And we're looking, and there's nothing but debris and fire. What the fuck just happened? So I sit there, and several firefighters come up to me, and this is where I literally blacked out. I went into shock. I don't remember. My company officer, my former company officer, comes up to me. He said, I talked to you for like a minute. You were sitting on SB2. I didn't remember. I don't remember how I got from the rear to the front, and I talked to a former paramedic. She said she walked me around to the front because I had burns that needed to be treated. I was also told by my former company officer that he said I was just mumbling, I lost Jerry, I lost Jerry, I lost Jerry. I don't remember. I think at that point, going through, and I'll get into my recovery shortly, but my doctor said, after being overloaded with adrenaline, your body has to shut down, and I shut down. And that's part of the recovery story. But after that, I was took to the front to be transported because I had second and third degree burns to my back, second and third degree burns to my wrist, and I was transported to Christiana Hospital. The audio is about 28 minutes long. It's very gritty, and having recovered from all of that and the PTSD, it's easier to listen to, but it's still hard to listen to because a lot went on that didn't go on, and a lot went on that wasn't taking place that needed to take place. And again, I've gotten over the blame game, because there was a lot of guys there doing a lot of shit to save some lives, and they saved lives. Jerry and I attempted something that is fucking impossible, man. We ran into a burning building, like no hose line after a collapsed structure, and attempted to save a life. And the hardest part is I learned from someone today that fail is not a good thing. It's not a fail. We attempted. And if I had the opportunity, I would do the fucking same shit again. Because Chris was fucking worth it. I ran into some. I was attempting to go off my little cue list here that I failed to even look at, but I would do it again, all over again, to attempt to save Chris. And I know Jerry was all for it because he ran in there like a bull in the china shop. He was not going to not do it, So with that, I went off the job after my burns, and I was off for 8 weeks in recovery from my burns. I came back to work. The day I came back to work, I reported back to duty, and the first day I came back, I got a call from a guy. He said, "Hey Tate, there's an engine and bypass today." I called my lieutenant, or the on-duty lieutenant, and said, "I'm not coming to work." He said, "Why?" I said, "There's an engine and bypass. That was the same circumstances I almost died under. So you want me to come in there for that?" I said, "No." And maybe 2 hours later, the deputy chief of operations was at my house. "Tate, you coming back to work?" I said, "Not in those circumstances. I can't do it. I don't feel safe." So I went into therapy. And this was after 2 months of having to deal with burns, being scraped and all that nonsense. So this pain is with me. After about 3 months of therapy, in January, new administration, new chief, no rolling bypass, I come back to work. Not realizing that mentally I hadn't healed at all, nowhere near. Go back to squad 4, normal days, but then I realized I wasn't me anymore. I was going on calls, crying on the fire truck. I was not sleeping in the bunk room anymore. I would stay up all night in the day room in the chairs. I found myself at night sometimes sleeping in the watch box, and I never did that. Very agitated, very upset with people, very angry. And a lot of guys know I can get a little edgy, but I was never a person who was just outright angry all the time. And then I realized one day, after I don't know how many months now, crying on the fire truck, going to a call is not it. And I told my lieutenant, I said, I need to get some help. And they sent me to University of Pennsylvania Veterans Hospital for vets for PTSD. And I was there for 8 months. And therapy helped. I came back to work. And, you know, thankfully for the administration, I asked for a new assignment because I didn't think Squad 4 was going to help me at that time. So they sent me to Engine 5, to Ardythe's company. I'm not saying it was a bad thing, but I don't think it was a good thing for my recovery. You know, having to show up at Ardythe's old station. And Ardythe had just passed in December. So this was maybe March or April when I got my new assignment. I can't exactly remember the time, but, and then one day, after Chris, and excuse me, I skipped a very, very important part. When I went to Chris's funeral, for you guys that remember, this was the same emotional fit that I had when I saw my babysitter's kids get hit. So for those who were at Chris's funeral, I had an emotional release. I started crying, I started shaking, I started hyperventilating, and I couldn't control my emotions. And this was PTSD. So I had that same thing at Station 5. I came into work one day, the lieutenant told me, "Hey, you're driving." I said, "Lieutenant, I just got here. I'm only here for the assignment. The chief said they're going to transfer me." I said, "You have a driver." "No, I'm comfortable with you driving." I said, "Lieutenant, I can't drive Engine 5. I'm not assigned here." So at that point, I tried to have a conversation with him, and we had a little altercation, and I couldn't control my emotions. I fucking wigged out. Fucking crying, yelling, and had another fucking fit. Battalion chief came out. He said, "Terry, go home." I went home and they sent me back to the clinic. And I was off again. So I spent a matter of maybe 10 and a half months in mental health rehab for PTSD, but it took me almost 4.5 years to get back to who I am, which was a long time. And in that long time, I thank God that my wife didn't leave me. I know I lost a lot of friends because I cut a lot of people off. You know, people I loved and cared about, people in the fire department, and people who just generally loved me, you know. And PTSD will do that to you, you know, because you'll find yourself angry, sad, mad, and all these emotions that you can't encapsulate anymore. Because as firemen, as I was told by my therapist, we're able to look at these traumatizing things and open our big file cabinet and say, car accident, all right, homicide, whatever we see, we have this large file cabinet that we keep all that stuff filed away. Well, PTSD opens that file cabinet and says, okay, you're gonna pick all of this shit up and sort it out. And now you're emotionally drained from all of these things that you've seen over all the years. And it will wreck you, you know. So I was able to pack all that stuff back up and be able to speak to you today about what happened to me, because there was a time I couldn't talk about this. I couldn't tell people what happened to Jerry and I, what we attempted to do, and how a friend of mine who I told, and most people know me, if I fucking tell you I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna fucking do it. I'm not one of them bullshitters that says, oh, I'll think about it. No, I fucking do it. And I told Chris, I fucking got you. And I failed. But that was an attempt. If I had another attempt, I'd fucking do it again. I'd keep fucking do it till I got it right. You know, because Chris was worth it. So with that, I'm gonna leave you with a couple proverbs that I learned from some senior firefighters and some guys on the job that taught me some things. And one being that, I'm sure you guys know this one, everybody gets a turn in the barrel. Okay? So make sure you're out here doing what you're supposed to be doing, because one day it's going to be your turn. Now there's a backstory to that. If you want to ask somebody senior to you, they'll tell you the backstory to it. You know. Also that, and let me make sure I remember them all. I learned from a guy that he said, we crawl through smoke and fire and hell to save black, white, yellow, gay, Catholic, Muslim, transgender, because every soul matters. So when we get on that truck and we hear that bell, all that shit that is out here in this world that's distracting us from doing this job drops, because every soul matters. And I'm trying to bring my mind around to the last one. It's escaping me at this moment. I don't believe it's on my cheat sheet. Oh, wait, hold on. I got to get my cheaters to look at the cheat sheet. Yeah. So unfortunately, it's not on my cheat sheet. But again, make sure as we are out here doing our jobs to the best of our abilities, saving lives and protecting others, that we're protecting ourselves, our mental health, obviously our physical health, because all of this, and we all know, all of these things as we age, they go, you know. But the biggest thing is we have to be here after this for the ones who love and care about us. Because again, we love what we do. I know we love what we do. I actually, you know, I love what I do now, but I love what I did. You know, as I spoke to some of the guys at Capital Training, I was like, I love the squad, but there's no better feeling than being on the tip of that ladder, 100 feet up in the air, flowing water and looking at everybody else like, oh yeah, you wish you were me. You know, so yeah, we have to make sure that once we're done what we're doing here serving others, we're able to serve ourselves, you know. So make sure we take care of ourselves mentally on this job, because it can take a toll on you, you know. So I just want to thank everybody for coming out, for me, for this event, to honor Jerry. Again, Capital Training and Ardythe Hope and Ladder for putting this together, and all you guys, because I love all y'all, and it's good to see all you guys out here. And coming to hear this story, because I haven't told it that often. I haven't told it to many people. And again, if it wasn't for this motherfucker right here, I wouldn't be here to tell this story. You know, so we talk as often as we can, but I do call him and say, hey, how you doing, my hero? Because he saved my life, you know. And I try not to get too wrapped up into what I did or what Jerry and I attempted to do and harm myself by saying, you know, I'm a failure. But again, I would most definitely do it again and again and again, because Chris, Ardy, and Jerry were worth it, you know.
Thank you for sharing.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. And again, there's a lot of guys here who put in a lot of work to. Again, we saved Brad. We gave Ardy some time, you know. So I'm not the only one. This is just my story, but there are many other stories that took place, because we were in the back of the building, but there was a whole nother fire situation going on at the front, and those guys have a story to tell as well. So hopefully we can get all of that put together. And again, we had a good time when we sat and talked with each other and put this puzzle together, because we didn't know what we were doing. Like, you know, again, you were in the front, I was in the back. Like, we had no clue what, you know, you didn't even know where I was at. And again, you know, so it's a great thing that we were able to save Brad and give Ardy some time. So again, I just want to thank you guys, and I appreciate you letting me come out here and tell this story. Thank you, man. Thank you.
Thank Tate for coming out tonight and telling his story. It's a first time publicly Tate spoken about what happened. Not many people know. Nobody knows the story from the other two. He's always able to tell the actual story. So, brother, I love you.
Love you, man. Thank you for that.
Thank you for coming out.
Most definitely.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you everybody who came out here to support Tate tonight. Tomorrow, if anybody wants to stop by the Westchester Firefighter Training Center, day 2 of the hot class. Some stuff in the store. I mean, the students that we have tomorrow, we're going to take a lot away from the class. So anybody wants to stop by, feel free to. Thanks, everybody.
All right, just want to close this out again. Thank you guys for having us. Thank you guys for welcoming us to the Wilmington family. Thank you for welcoming us to the Aetna family. As the instructor of Capital Fire Training, every year somewhere is around late November, early December, I always write a check to Aetna as a donation. None of us instructors take any money for teaching. We are a legit business. We travel across the country teaching at expos, conferences, that kind of thing. However, we don't take any money for teaching at this event. We actually take a check from Aetna, and that's just to cover the supplies for what we do when we teach different props, we build, that kind of stuff. But none of the instructors take any checks. We don't take any money. We actually donate. This year we made a t-shirt in hopes of being able to donate more to Aetna because they put this on. They also, I think, 2 years ago, built a training facility in Jerry's name at one of their firehouses. And so we were able to give back to that as well. So we do have some memorial shirts in honor of Jerry. And we are selling those shirts for $20. And we are going to donate that money back to Aetna to help them with their training facility. And it helps us keep the program running. And we've been doing this for the last 5 years. With that being said, I don't anticipate us stopping anytime soon, and we're going to continue to keep doing this. It's grown to the point now it's no longer just people from Wilmington or people from Aetna. We had a girl in our class today from Indiana, so people are coming from far. To Carolina. So whatever you can give is helpful. And again, it all goes back to Aetna. At the end of the year, I send them a letter. Honoring Jerry, thanking them for having us, and a donation check. So, thank you guys all for coming.
Thank you.
Hope you guys enjoy the rest of the night.
Thank you.
Can you do the raffles? Talk about the raffles. Should run the raffle.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me, bro.
Hey guys,
Yeah, most definitely. I gotta see you guys again, man. Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, please. Yeah, most definitely. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.